Welcome, everyone, to the deep dive. If you're looking for that shortcut to being really well informed, cutting through all the noise to get the core insights, well, you're in the right place.
Definitely.
Today, we're doing more than just scratching the surface. We're really plunging into incredible wisdom. It's, believe it or not, over 80 years old, but feels so relevant right now.
That's exactly it. Our mission today is to explore this sort of timeless, really transformative stuff from Napoleon Hill, his lost writings, you could call them.
Lost writings. Sounds intriguing.
Yeah. Articles from his Golden Rule magazine, other things he published way back, stuff that hasn't really seen the light of day for like almost a century.
Yeah.
And look, these aren't just, dusty old pages.
Right.
They're practical blueprints,
Yeah.
really practical for understanding your potential, achieving success.
Okay, I'm hooked. So what can listeners expect? What are we going to uncover here?
Well, get ready for some, frankly, surprising facts about how your mind works, some deep psychological principles, and real stories, anecdotes that'll make you rethink things, about your mind, success, how you interact with people. The goal is simple. Take these nuggets of wisdom
Okay.
and turn them into things you can actually use.
Yeah.
Actionable insights for you, the listener. Expect a shift in how you see things.
Fantastic. Let's get started. #I, the foundation of belief in mind control. Okay, so where do we begin? Maybe at the foundation. How Hill sees us forming our beliefs. That seems pretty fundamental.
Absolutely. It's something we don't often think about, but it's critical.
Yeah.
Hill argues that our beliefs, like everything we think is true, it all comes from what he calls sense impressions.
Sense impressions. Okay.
And he says we get these mainly from four places, four pillars, he calls them.
Pillars of influence, what are they?
It's a powerful idea, it really shapes us. So first, home teachings, what you learn from family growing up,
Correct.
often the deepest stuff.
Makes sense. The earliest input.
Exactly. Second, church teachings,
Wow.
moral frameworks, spirituality, right and wrong.
Got it.
Third, public school teachings, formal education, social norms, history, science, that whole package.
Okay.
And fourth, newspapers, magazines, and books. Basically, all media, everything you read, even conversations you have. These four things are constantly feeding impressions into your mind, shaping what you believe about everything.
Wow. So it's like this constant stream of data programming us. And he really stresses the power of these four together, doesn't he? He says something pretty startling about changing a whole generation's ideals.
He does. It's huge. He claims these four sources working together can completely change or even supplant by a new ideal in one generation. Think about that.
Staggering. The implications are massive.
They really are. It means any idea, literally any concept, can be forced upon the child so indelibly, so deeply, that it's incredibly hard to shake later on.
Right.
It highlights the responsibility of parents, teachers, media. But for us, it means understanding that our default beliefs often not really our choices.
More like reflections of these inputs.
Precisely. It explains why some societal norms or prejudices stick around, or how they can change over time. We're not starting from a blank slate.
Okay, so that leads perfectly into this metaphor he uses, the mind as a garden. I love that imagery. It's so vivid.
It is, isn't it? He says whatever seed, meaning thoughts, you sow in that garden, whether you plant it carefully or just let it drift in,
Yeah.
it will grow into a crop of outward, physical, bodily activity. He's emphatic. No escape from the effects of one's dominating thoughts.
No escape. That's a strong statement.
It's the absolute core of his idea of mind control. Your mind is always growing something. If you don't consciously plant seeds of success or courage or whatever you want.
Then weeds grow instead.
Exactly. Weeds like failure, poverty, fear. He says it flat out. You can't think failure and expect success. It just doesn't work that way. You have to be the gardener. You're responsible for the harvest.
So if thoughts are always growing something, this must connect to his idea of thinking accurately. This isn't just being smart, is it? It sounds more like overcoming bias.
It is. It's about cutting through the noise. He talks about overcoming prejudices tied to race, creed, politics, all that stuff, by focusing on facts.
So challenging those sense impressions we got from the four pillars.
Precisely. Thinking accurately means sifting through all that input, figuring out what's sound, what's true versus what's just inherited belief or emotional reaction.
Right.
Prejudices are rarely based on facts, are they? They're usually conditioning. So Hill pushes for this active examination of your own beliefs. Are they serving you, or are they weeds holding you back?
It's about intellectual honesty then, being deliberate about what takes root in that mental garden.
Exactly. It's the path to mastering yourself, seeing things clearly.
Right.
Hashtag to the power of self-suggestion, auto-suggestion.
Okay, so building on that garden idea and us being the gardener, this brings us to auto-suggestion, right? This sounds like the how we do the deliberate planting.
That's it, exactly. Auto-suggestion is just self-suggestion. It's the deliberate act of influencing your own subconscious mind, like having a direct conversation with your deeper self. And he gives a nod to James Allen's As a Man Thinketh, a classic, saying it shows how you can literally make oneself over through thought.
Right. Allen's work really laid some groundwork there.
Yeah, the idea that your character, your circumstances, even health reflect your thoughts. Hill then gives us the mechanism, the how-to for that transformation.
And it's tied to how our brain actually works, which is fascinating. He says, every movement controlled by thought, originating in the brain, the seat of government.
That's the factual basis. Thought isn't just abstract, it's the command center for everything you do, everything you experience.
So how does he break down the mind for this?
He keeps it practical, divides it into the conscious and the subconscious. Conscious mind, that's what we use when we're awake, directing actions, analyzing things.
Or everyday thinking mind.
Right. But the subconscious, that's the powerhouse. The vast storage unit holds memories, habits, operates below our awareness. Autosuggestion targets that level. It bypasses the conscious critic, planting seeds deep down.
Okay, so how do we actually do it? What's the method? He gives a simple statement, doesn't he?
Remarkably simple, yeah, but powerful. He says you achieve it by holding the thought of this statement in one's mind constantly. I believe in myself. I am courageous. I can accomplish whatever I undertake.
Constantly. That's the key word there, isn't it? Not just once in a while.
Constancy is everything. Persistent repetition, unwavering focus. Making sure that thought takes root, bypasses doubt, embeds itself. And this leads straight to its main application. Choosing a definite aim in life.
Ah, the definite aim. Big concept for Hill.
Huge. He stresses finding work you truly want to devote your life to. But, and this is crucial, it has to profit all who are affected by your activities.
So not just about personal gain, it has to benefit others too, an ethical component.
Absolutely. It has to create value beyond just yourself. And this ties right into, well, what people now call the law of attraction.
Right, that's everywhere now. But Hill was talking about it way back.
Decades ago. And not as some fad, but as a fundamental law. As immutable as the law of gravitation, he says. Like attracts like.
Okay.
So, by controlling your thoughts, planting those specific seeds, you develop a magnet in your brain. It attracts people, circumstances, ideas that align with those thoughts.
Mental magnetism. I like that. So positive thoughts attract positive outcomes.
That's the core idea. If your dominant thoughts are positive, focused on your aim, your brain becomes this magnet drawing in what you need. If they're negative, scattered, well, you attract that too.
And the law is always working, whether we know it or not.
Always, ceaselessly. It's not magic wishing. It's your internal state shaping your external reality.
And Hill didn't just talk about this stuff. He lived it. He gives some pretty wild personal examples, right? Like the imaginary council table.
Oh yeah, that's maybe the most astonishing one. He calls it his most miraculous experience. Sounds almost mystical, but he treated it like a disciplined practice.
So what did he do?
He'd hold these vivid imaginary meetings regularly. Invited figures he admired, people like Lincoln, Emerson, Socrates, Aristotle, Napoleon.
Wow, quite the guest list.
Jefferson, Albert Hubbard, the man from Galilee, Jesus, and the orator Henry Ward Beecher. His goal, to impress his subconscious through autosuggestion with their qualities.
So he was trying to absorb their traits, like Lincoln's patience, Napoleon's persistence.
Exactly. Cultivate Lincoln's fairness, Napoleon's strategic mind, his self-confidence. He was building an internal mastermind group in his own head.
Okay, that's intense. Did it work? He mentions his public speaking changed dramatically.
Dramatically is right. He says before this practice, his speaking was, his words, dismal failures. He really struggled. But after just 1 week of these nightly council meetings, 1 week, he gave a speech, made such an impression he was invited back immediately. From then on, he says, constantly improving, a total transformation.
That's incredible. And he ended up speaking all over the U.S.
All over. He highlights one event, May 1920, speaking to the Advertising Club in Pittsburgh. Big deal. Audience full of top businessmen, Carnegie Steel, H.J. Heinz, big names, analytical guys.
Okay, tough crowd.
Right. And he says they gave him the greatest ovation ever given a speaker before that club. Got a medal and everything.
Wow.
And he ties it directly back to autosuggestion. Filling his mind with the thought of equaling, even excelling Beecher as a speaker. He says, Basically, no other result could have happened.
That's a powerful testament. It really shows how deep, focused thought can manifest outwardly.
Absolutely. It wasn't about bragging. It was proof of the principle.
Okay, then there's the second example, the $100,000 salary. This one has a twist.
A really interesting kind of cautionary twist. So he had a very specific aim. Earn $100,000 a year for his School of Business Economics. Clear goal.
Right, measurable.
And within 6 months, he gets offered a business connection at, get this, $105,200 a year.
Whoa, almost exact.
The extra $5,200 was for travel, he says. So the salary was exactly $100. He takes the job, creates over $20 million in assets for them in just 5 months.
Amazing. So the law worked perfectly, but then the twist.
And the twist, he says he was defrauded out of the $100,000 salary agreed upon. Never actually got paid it.
Oh, ouch.
Right. Which leads him to ask this critical question. What if his declaration had read, I will earn and receive $100,000 a year?
Ah, the wording, the precision.
Exactly. It highlights how literal autosuggestion can be. His subconscious got the instruction to earn it, but maybe not the specific instruction to receive it.
That's a subtle but huge difference, a lesson in being really specific with your intentions.
A powerful lesson. You need the complete picture, the full manifestation in your aim, not just part of it.
So he wraps this up by saying, our outward actions always align with our dominant thoughts, and character, our habits, ethics grows from satisfying our own conscience.
Right. And when you act with integrity, consistently, the self-belief that grows from that, it becomes this unstoppable current of force, hard for others to even understand. It's about building that solid inner foundation.
Okay, so we've talked about autosuggestion influencing yourself. Now let's flip it. What about suggestion influencing others? This feels potentially tricky.
It's definitely potent and, yeah, can be tricky. That's the key difference. Autosuggestion is internal, suggestion is external, aimed at others.
And Hill says science proves its power for good and bad.
He does. He claims science shows it can be destructive, like causing illness or even death, just through suggestion, but also incredibly constructive, eliminating disease, restoring health. The mind's power over other minds and bodies he saw as fact.
He gives that weird example about the peppermint, right? Making people smell it when it wasn't there.
Yeah, an audience smelling peppermint from plain water just because they were told it was there. It shows how easily our senses, our reality can be influenced.
Wild. So how does influencing someone actually work, according to Hill? He talks about neutralizing the mind.
Right, neutralizing. Crucial concept. To influence someone effectively with suggestion, their mind needs to be in a state of credulousness greater than that normally maintained. Basically, you need to lower their guard, make them more open, less resistant.
Creating an opening, not forcing it. Okay.
Exactly. And he gives this really detailed, kind of disturbing case study, the fortune teller con, involving a guy named Mr. Birch. It shows the mechanics step by step.
Ah, yes, the con artist playbook. How did it work?
Chillingly effective. First, the fake fortune tellers prep the victim. They get some info, plant subtle hints during a reading, scheming relatives, maybe meeting someone wealthy soon. Seeds the idea.
It's the state.
Right. Then Mr. Birch appears, seemingly by accident, always looks successful, important. But here's the key. Initially, he shows but little deference. Doesn't seem too interested.
Makes him seem more genuine, less like a salesman.
Exactly. Disarms suspicion immediately. Then, the trust building. He finds out the victim's interests, horses, cars, whatever, and caters to them. Pays for everything, dinners, outings, no ask.
Builds obligation and rapport.
Builds massive trust. This goes on, maybe for weeks, until the victim's mind is completely neutralized. They stop being suspicious at all. Totally credulous.
Okay, so the guard is down. Then what? How does the suggestion come in?
This is the clever part. Birch was too smart to directly ask them to invest. No hard sell. Instead, he'd be careless, seemingly letting slip info about his own profitable ventures, almost talking to himself.
Ah, making it seem like an accident and discovery for the victim.
Precisely. The victim thinks they discovered the opportunity, which is way more powerful than being pitched. They end up persuading themselves. Subtle suggestion beats direct demand every time.
Nefarious, but you can see the principle. How does he apply this constructively? Salesmanship, leadership. He mentions Mark Antony.
Yeah, the Mark Antony psychology from Shakespeare. Antony praises Brutus first, gets the crowd on side, then subtly turns them against him, using suggestion, mentioning the will, implying murder.
Masterful manipulation, really. How does that translate to sales?
Counterintuitively. The best salespeople, Sill says, praise their competitors, they don't knock them. Knocking just creates resistance, raises the buyer's guard.
Makes it impossible to neutralize their mind.
Exactly. Praising keeps them open, builds trust. Then your own suggestions can land.
And in leadership, he talks about a manager who never criticized.
Right. This manager constantly complimented his team, even if their work wasn't great initially. He used suggestion, telling them they were improving. And guess what?
They actually improved.
They actually improved. Positive suggestion worked better than criticism. It shows suggestion is always happening. Whether we intend it or not, we're constantly radiating our spirit.
Yeah, like a grumpy person bringing down the whole office, or a cheerful one lifting it up.
Exactly. Our presence, our attitude, it's all suggesting things to people around us.
He also gives that little tip about phrasing, right? Saying, as you of course know, instead of, let me tell you something you don't know.
Yes. Such a subtle but powerful point. Trying to impress with your knowledge creates a barrier. Starting with, as you know, respects their intelligence, invites them in, makes them more receptive. It avoids that negative barrier.
It's all about lowering resistance, creating openness. Okay, now, maybe the most mind-bending part. Suggestion and healing. This sounds incredible.
This is where it gets really profound. Hill insists a sick mind can literally make the body sick, and a stronger mind can heal it by giving it direction, confidence.
And it doesn't have to be hypnotism.
No, he says wonderful results happen with the patient wide awake, rational. The key is they have to believe in you, trust the suggestion. It's the power of belief, accepted internally.
He gives some shocking examples. Men dying from imagining they were cut.
Yeah, authentic cases, he calls them. Blindfolded, touched with ice, water dripped like blood. They believed they were bleeding out, and their bodies responded. Died from imagination. Terrifying proof of mind over body.
Truly chilling. But there's a positive side, too. The woman who imagined a tumor.
Right. Equally amazing. She developed a tumor after living with someone who had one, absorbed the suggestion of illness. Under anesthetic, the tumor vanished. Came back when she woke up.
Wow.
But then they staged a fake successful operation. Just put on a bandage. And because her imagination now had nothing to work upon save the idea of health, the tumor disappeared. Permanently.
So the mind can create illness through fear and eliminate it through belief. That's huge.
It's profound. Which leads to his practical advice. Cure your imagination at night. Before sleep, feed your subconscious positive thoughts, positive suggestions. Because that's when it's most receptive, less filtered. Reprogram yourself while you sleep. #tag 5. The immutable law of retaliation, like attracts like.
Okay, understanding this mind power within us and with others leads us to another big one. The law of retaliation. And you mentioned this isn't about revenge, right? It's something deeper.
Much deeper. Yeah, not revenge. Hill defines it as a natural law, to return like for like. Do an injury, it comes back to you, often stronger. Do a favor, kindness, cooperation, that comes back too, also often stronger.
Cause and effect in interactions.
Exactly, an unerring principle.
Yeah.
And he says it's universal, not just human stuff. Water seeks its level. An acorn only attracts what it needs to be an oak. Never have poplar. Nature doesn't mix signals.
Like attracts like, fundamentally.
That's the essence. It's a governing law. So applied to us, every thought in the human brain attracts elements after its kind. You can't focus on hate and get success. They just don't align. Your thoughts magnetize your reality.
So using this law consciously, it's a tool for influence and self-control.
A huge tool. Hill argues you can get others to do whatever I wish you to do by giving them the treatment you want back. Want respect, give respect. Want cooperation, be cooperative. It's a mirror.
A direct mirror.
Right.
But mastering this requires serious self-control, he says.
Complete self-control, the ability to take abuse, negativity, without retaliating in kind. That's the hard part.
Why is that so crucial?
Because if someone's angry at you and you get angry back, you drop to their level, they control the interaction. But if you stay calm, refuse to get angry, you keep your reason, you stay in control, you hold the higher ground.
And that's where that amazing phrase comes in. The hottest coals of fire are the coals of human kindness, using kindness to disarm hostility.
It's a brilliant strategy. He tells that incredible story, the Lawrence Massacre example, Kansas, 1863. A clergyman dragged out of bed by one of Quantrell's guerrillas expecting to be shot.
Right, a terrifying situation.
But instead of fighting or pleading maybe, he sits down with the guy, looks him in the eye, and just talks to him.
Talks to him. What happened?
Miraculous outcome. The guerrilla, totally disarmed by the clergyman's calm kindness, gives back his valuables, apologizes, and asks the clergyman to be thought well of. The clergyman survived.
Wow. That's unbelievable proof.
It's a visceral demonstration. Hill asks, what if he'd come out with a gun? He concludes the clergyman mastered the gorilla by fighting him with thought, with kindness. That kindness, by the law of retaliation, generated kindness back.
So kindness begets kindness, unkindness begets unkindness, always returning, often stronger. And he mentions pride and stubbornness get in the way.
Big time. Pride and stubbornness stop us from offering that kindness or understanding first. They become internal blocks, preventing us from receiving what we actually want. We sabotage ourselves.
Okay, moving from these laws of interaction. Hill hammers home the importance of persistence. He says it's often the difference maker, even between people with similar talents or education.
Yeah, it's a crucial insight. He sees people with equal potential diverging massively simply due to persistence or lack of it. It's often the deciding factor.
And he defines it very specifically, doesn't he? Not just trying hard sometimes.
Right. It's not puny resolve or errant purposes. It's that strong and indefatigable will which treads down difficulties and danger. It's relentless, unyielding.
He quotes Disraeli, something about a settled purpose being unstoppable.
Yeah, Disraeli. A human being with a settled purpose must accomplish it. Nothing can resist a will which will stake even existence upon its fulfillment. That's total commitment.
And Lincoln on General Grant, the bulldog grip.
Perfect description, Lincoln said. The great thing about him is cool persistency of purpose. He has got the grip of a bulldog. When he once gets his teeth in, nothing can shake him off. That captures it perfectly. Unshakable tenacity.
So how does persistence work inside us? He talks about a sleeping genius.
Yes, this subtle something dormant in all of us. Persistence, he says, will vitalize your brain, send that radiant glow, cause you to want to grab your hat, go out and do something.
It's the spark.
It's the spark. It's not just what education puts in your head, but what gets aroused in you, put to work. Persistence eventually awakens that indescribable something, ignites that inner drive.
So it's the engine, turning potential into action, ideas into reality. Without it, great ideas just sit there. With it.
The ordinary can achieve the extraordinary. It becomes this irresistible force.
But this inner drive, persistence, it doesn't happen in isolation, right? Hill talks a lot about environment and habit shaping us. He uses that chameleon analogy.
Yeah, the chameleon effect.
Yeah.
He says the mind absorbs the environment and grows to resemble the sense impressions which it absorbs, like a chameleon changing color.
And he says only the strongest minds resist this.
That's the sobering part. Unless you're really aware, really disciplined, you'll naturally conform to your surroundings, mentally.
And he brings back those four sources again, home, church, school, media, as the main shapers, which leads to choosing your company wisely, avoiding bad company.
Absolutely. Constant association with evil minds, negative, cynical, unambitious people. He says it will inevitably mold your own mind to be like theirs. You just absorb their ideas, their attitudes.
So it's not just social, it's about protecting your mental environment. You become who you hang out with.
Essentially, yes. Mentally and emotionally. And the physical environment matters too, even simple things like clothes.
Clothes. How so?
He says, soiled or shabby clothes depress you, lower your confidence, while clean, modest, refined clothes give you an inner courage. He calls good clothes a sound business investment.
He tells that story about the physical culture teacher catching him off guard.
Yeah. The teacher met him right after a treatment. Hill was still in his trunks, totally unprepared. The teacher, impeccably dressed. Hill felt immediately disadvantaged, embarrassed, more likely to buy the course. Shows how environment affects psychology.
Wow. And this applies to the workplace, too. Clean, harmonious offices.
Definitely. Employers learned early on, he says, the dollars and cents benefit of good environments. Playgrounds, libraries, even player pianos back then.
The player piano in the laundry.
That's a great example. Chicago laundryman installs a player piano, hires someone to play it, worker morale goes up, efficiency skyrockets, outperforms competitors.
Because it made people want to work better.
Exactly. Creating an environment that inspires. But Hill still insists the mental environment, the atmosphere of thought and attitude, is even more crucial than the physical.
Okay, let's talk about habit. So pervasive. How does Hill explain habit formation?
As a natural law, habits are created by repetition, like folding paper on the same crease or a river carving its channel. Habits create a well-worn path in the mind, easy to follow, hard to leave.
Makes sense. And the only way to break old habits
is to form new ones, to counteract and replace the old ones. You can't just leave a void, you need a substitute.
And he gives those 4 rules from Edward Beals for building new habits. Sounds practical.
Very practical. A blueprint, really. One, make the new mental path as clear and deep as you can at the start. Strong intention, clear vision.
Okay.
Two, keep your attention firmly concentrated on the new path. Keep thoughts away from the old paths. Singular focus. Redirect energy.
Got it.
Three, travel over your newly made path as often as possible. Make opportunities. Proactive repetition. Create chances to practice the new habit.
Right. Be deliberate.
And four, the tough one. Resist the temptation to travel over the older, easier paths. Every time you resist, the stronger do you become. Every time you yield, the easier it becomes to do so again.
The compounding effect of discipline. Each resistance builds strength. Each surrender weakens it. That's powerful.
It really is a clear framework for changing yourself one step at a time. Hashtag 7. Memory, concentration, and action.
All right, moving towards wrapping things up. Memory. Hill links it to concentration and repetition, but also association. What are these three allies?
Yeah, 3 pillars for a strong memory.
Oh.
Association. Linking new info to something you already know well creates mental hooks.
Okay.
Concentration. Focusing your attention fully on what you want to remember. No distractions. Mind needs to be clear.
Makes sense.
And repetition. Going over it multiple times, maybe in different ways, embedding it in the subconscious. And he warns against the enemies. Indifference and divided attention. If you don't care or aren't focused, it won't stick.
He tells that story about James A. Farrell, the steel executive with the incredible memory, the walking encyclopedia.
Oh, Farrell's story is legendary. President of U.S. Steel, ex-laborer, on the witness stand for 10 days straight during a government lawsuit.
10 days.
10 days. Answered thousands of super detailed questions, wine ingredients, competitor stats, shipping details, financial percentages for specific years like 1910, 1912, all without notes.
That's superhuman. How?
The courtroom was apparently stunned. Farrell's secret. He said, cultivating memory at first requires effort, great effort. In time, it becomes easy and natural. It becomes a habit.
So it was practice, habit.
Intense concentration, he stressed. No useless mental baggage. Said you have to study while others play. It wasn't magic. It was discipline.
Discipline again. Okay. And this leads to his rule 4 about action. The instant you recollect, DOIT.
Yes, this is key. Not just a memory trick, but a principle for effectiveness. When you remember something needs doing, act immediately.
Why is that so important?
Because delaying makes future action harder, feeds procrastination. But crucially, it also dulls the keenness of memory itself, weakens the thought-to-action link. Acting immediately reinforces that pathway, turns memory into a springboard for results.
And finally, we arrive at the summit, maybe. Lesson 12, the Golden Rule. Hill presents this not just as a moral idea, but as a practical, workable principle affecting business, finance, everything.
He really does. He sees it as a scientific law, not just sentiment. Remember that story of the dog, Spug, facing execution?
The one who attacked sheep, yeah.
In court, the dog jumps in his owner's lap, licks him. Pure affection, no defense. And it completely changes the mood. Laughter, tears. The judge lets the dog go.
Wow.
Hill says that dog tapped the power which rules this universe by applying the principle which underlies the Golden Rule. An act of non-retaliatory affection disarmed hostility.
That's an amazing illustration. And he calls the Golden Rule the panacea for the world's ills, using a body analogy.
Yeah, like cells in a body needing harmony to be healthy. Discord means disease, death. Same for humanity, he argues. Lack of harmony causes suffering, war, etc. The Golden Rule is the cure, ensuring peace, success.
It's the operating principle for collective well-being. What happens when we deviate? He says success built on unfairness can't last.
Can't be permanent, no.
Yeah.
Any advantage gained unfairly will eventually be hit by a leveling circumstance. The universe balances things out. He calls it the law of compensation.
Crime and punishment from the same stem.
Exactly. Intrinsically linked. And he tells that heartbreaking story of Bill Jones, the bank clerk who stole money and fled.
Right. Lived in fear for 18 years.
Haunted by this phantom of capture, only to find out the bank never even reported the theft. His realization. I punished myself all those years.
Oh, man. The consequences were internal, self-inflicted.
A perfect, devastating example of internal compensation. But then there's the flip side. Not Hampson, the tramp who won the Nobel Prize.
Fired as a streetcar conductor, lived in poverty.
Utter poverty, but kept writing persistently. His books, born from that suffering, eventually won the Nobel. Shows the reward side of the law when you stick to your purpose with integrity, despite everything. Persistence pays off.
So it's not enough just to believe in the Golden Rule. You have to use it.
Absolutely. To profit by it, They must become active in using it. It's an active principle.
And teaching it helps you learn it better.
Profound point. We learn more about a principle the moment we try to teach it. Sharing it deepens your own understanding. And acting on it, treating people right, builds this powerful reputation of confidence, integrity.
While shady deals destroy trust and lead to failure, no escape from the law.
None. The universe always balances the books, in Hill's view.
So wrapping up, he says, applying all these principles is the passkey. Unlocks whatever you want to be. Scientific force, divine power. The result is success.
Exactly. And it all works to eliminate that greatest of all curses, fear. That's what the self-confidence building is designed for. As he says, nothing seems impossible when built upon faith as the cornerstone.
Okay, so what a journey through these lost writings. We've covered autosuggestion, suggestion, attraction, retaliation, persistence, environment, habit, memory, action, and the golden rule as the ultimate key.
Timeless principles, truly. As relevant now as 80 years ago. They offer a blueprint for taking control of your thoughts, actions, destiny, building a life by design.
So here's the final thought for you, the listener, to take away. If imagination can create illness out of fear or make a tumor vanish with belief, what impossibilities are you holding back in your own life?
Good question.
What are you not achieving because you haven't fully harnessed your mind using these rules? What one definite aim will you commit to now, and how will you apply these principles to get there? Knowing, as Hill says, that nothing's impossible when built on faith and self-confidence.
It's not just about listening, right? It's about doing.